So I stood outside, and then I just had a vitamin D pill, tablet when I walked in. So
That's what it's a
I'm
vitamin
good for
D
the next
overdose.
3 hours. So let's get to work.
Um,
That's what it is.
it's hot.
That's what it
Please
is.
be safe. I heard there's a heat advisory. Um, please be safe.
Drink your
Please
water.
drink your
Yes.
water.
Oh, can I share something real quick before we go into your
I
political
would
game?
love for you to share something.
So this morning, of course, I always get these things from my mom slash auntie. She looks out for me. So this is for everybody in the city, including my lovely coworkers and my supervisors, director over here, and policy director as well. So far as hydration amounts that are needed was on ABC. So we're gonna cite ABC. 1 to 3 year olds need 32 ounces of hydration. 4 to 8 year olds need 40 ounces. 9 to 13 year olds need 56 to 64 ounces. 14 to 18 year olds need 67 to 88 ounces. And men 19 plus need 104 ounces. And women 19 and older need 72 ounces. So there's just a quick tip for your hydration with these heat related deaths that we've been having going on across the country, because it's a heat wave going on everywhere pretty much right now for what I'm seeing. I see everybody talking about it, how hot it is. Detroit had to shut down schools just like NPS did yesterday. So it's my little tip.
And again, thank you, Brian Sanders, for keeping us healthy. But we were just talking about something, and it's off topic a little bit because we should be talking about civic engagement. But I'm older, so I was like, "Oof, it's hot out here. I have to bring the Tussie out." Do y'all remember the Tussie deodorant?
I remember it.
Yeah, because at first it came in a roll on later, but before it was this little container that you had to dip your hand in, and then you had to put it under your armpits. But
Mhm.
I
that
think I
stuff
missed
was a
that one, but I think
bomb.
I think it was a little
Anybody
before my
who's
day.
over like my age or over know what that is. That stuff, you was never gonna stink with that.
it sound like the Ivory soap of deodorants. You know, that one Ivory soap that you get it anywhere close to your eyes, you're
Oh,
gonna
it's
be
gonna burn
blind.
forever.
Man,
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
yeah, you ain't
You
lying,
put that in
bro.
a spray bottle and take some people out.
Doc, I mean, yeah, you ain't lying about that.
Man, y'all so bad. Um, Thank you for joining again. Be a voice with Wisconsin Voices. Feel better, Latoya.
Yeah, get well, Toy.
Um, this heat is really messing with people, especially the people who have asthma. We are not doctors or anything, but please stay cool. Make sure you stay in air conditioning if you can. Please check on the people who do not have air conditioning, your loved ones, your family members. Um, just make sure that they are okay. It's hot, and it's supposed to be what
Yeah,
it'll
heat index
feel like
106,
110
110.
or
Oh, get
something like
higher
that.
now?
110.
Oh,
It's
110 because it was
110.
106 2 days ago. Now it's 110. Wow.
It'll feel like it's 110 outside.
And you
So
feel it as soon as you step out. As soon as you step out of the air conditioning, you can really feel it.
Oh,
Yeah.
the cooling sensors. To talk about those as well. You know, the cooling sensors are open. The libraries are open. You got the Urban Ecology Center is a cooling center as well. You got is it Urban Breach on Elite. The 1300 block of Elite is a cooling center. Check your area. You can go. You can type in cooling center right now on your phone, or you could just reach out and it'll show you which cooling centers. And of course, some of the pools are open as well. So don't be shy. Go ahead, put your head underneath one of those little umbrellas that drench water at the pool if you can, or whatever you got to do to make sure that you are keeping your body temperature on point today and not dehydrating. Whatever electrolytes that you can find, alkaline waters, etc. Please drink, drink, drink.
and public service announcement from Brian Sanders.
Right. Wisconsin Voices, we all about the community. So
Right.
that's a big part for me is people staying alive big time. Because I do not like all these deaths, especially these children related deaths across the country. I know I was sharing with Tamika yesterday about some of the stories I've been seeing about people just being irresponsible. And I know, you can make a quick decision and run in somewhere and not thinking about the heat because you're grown and you can move. But be mindful that you got young kids, grandparents, uncles, aunties. Make sure you're taking them kids inside with you, or make sure that air is on blast. If you run it in, preferably take them inside. But
There is
don't leave them in
on
the car.
the city.milwaukee.gov uh /health there is a site that says cooling sites,
Mhm.
and all you have to do is put your address in there, and they'll give you within 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile radius of where a cooling place could be for you.
Great.
Let's take a call. Caller, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
The last event that you had over off of 20th Street,
Can you
I
say that
had
again, please?
the last event that you had
Oh, the
over
cookout.
the
The
park.
cookout?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. Okay. I have a suggestion for events like that. That if maybe people are circling around, that they could ask some of your questions from your civics class, your civics course, and especially to the younger people, and maybe have a little prizes such as the little complimentary um, that you were giving out for us to clean our hands before we ate. The little sanitizer or whatever, some type of little prize to walk around and just ask people if they could answer the question, and if they would get it correct. And then the other thing would be maybe once an hour, you could have a little quiz, have call people who want to compete against each other, and maybe whoever answers the most specific questions. And I just had that idea because the way we could have the fun, but yet include our advance and our knowledge, how we were having fun with the group.
Yes, ma'am. We thank you for those suggestions. We will try to incorporate those next year.
Thank you.
Um, the last.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say too that was my last time seeing Keon,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I had told him that I had written a suggestion in regard to program also, and it's more work, but if there would be just a little segment each time, or maybe once a week, and we know that once a week that you would talk about a specific office, a civic position, political position, just what are the duties, responsibilities of that particular position. Just have a little segment. So he grabbed, I think it was a man named Joe. He grabbed this and he said, "Oh, you need to talk to this man right here. Talk to this man right here."
I think I
I
remember
just wanted
talking
to
to you at the picnic. I think I do remember our conversation. Yeah.
Yes. So I just wanted to bring him up too because as soon as I was talking to him, I said, "Well, I had typed it up on their website." And he said, "Well, you need to meet him. You need to meet him." I'm like, I don't want to go over everything. I don't want to try to talk about everything at the cookout. But anyway, Keon was trying to connect us, and make sure that she had a suggestion, and you know who to give it to. So, well, I'll still try to type it up. I'll try to put it on the website again. But yeah, he made sure that I met this particular person who would be responsible for some of those programming decisions too. Okay, thank you, and I appreciate your program.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We do. She had some of the suggestions that we do. Earlier in the day, we did have a conversation about just voting, what was on the ballot. We did have some conversations about when uh, when you can vote. It was just a weird day in the sense of we were already in the middle of the blackout. We usually do registration during that time. We actually provide rides to the polls during that time. So thank you for all the suggestions. We will definitely incorporate them in for next year. Thank you. If you do have any questions, concerns, comments, please, we do have a button on our website that says amplify your voice, and give us suggestions. We will try to work through them, and the ones that we can do, we'll put them in. If anybody's interested also in our civics 101 class, our presentation I should call it, um, please sign up. Civics 101. We will be doing 2 in September, depending on how many people it is, or but we will try to do that in September. 2 of them in September. We have one this week actually, working with VIA, VIA CDC, which is one of our partners. I will. I'll get you by the end of the show. We'll get you that address in case you would like to, come out. It will be on the south side, and there will be Spanish interpretation for what I'm saying. So if you are a native Spanish speaker, you can get the information through interpreters. Joe, what do you got today? Because so last night I'm sitting there watching, I don't know, I think I was watching TikToks or something.
I think I might have been doing the same thing.
And I ran across this particular thing, and I was like, Joe, you have to see it. I have researched it. I kind of think this is legitimate. Please research, because he is he's a former journalist. He has all these credentials, and he really knows how to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what things are. So Joe, what did I send you?
So let me lay a little groundwork for you. What we're going to be discussing a little bit is the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, which is a political organization which promotes conservative principles and candidates within the Republican Party. Members at the local, state, and national levels work to recruit and elect Republican candidates who reflect the party's most conservative philosophy, and to oppose so-called quote-unquote rhinos, or Republicans in name only, leaders and candidates who take positions to the left of the party's conservative mainstream. So this organization was formed in 1934 in California, and some of the predominant members and past Republican Assembly members include President Ronald Reagan, actress Jane Russell, current U.S. Senators Rand Paul and Ted Cruz.
So let me start by saying this. This is not a anti-Democrat, anti-Republican, anything like that. We just wanted to give you the foundation of where this information is coming from.
Yeah, and who they are. So a prominent Republican group, which we discussed, is citing one of the most horrible Supreme Court decisions in American history to justify its case that Vice President Kamala Harris should be deemed ineligible to run under the U.S. Constitution. In an official resolution, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, a 90-year-old GOP-aligned organization that counted former President Ronald Reagan among its members, took the position that Harris should not be allowed to hold the office of president, citing several quote-unquote precedent-setting U.S. Supreme Court cases. Among the 6 cases they cited was the Dred Scott versus Stanford decision of 1857, which is regarded even by the current Supreme Court as one of the worst Supreme Court decisions of all time, if not the worst ever. The resolution cites Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, which pertains to only natural-born U.S. citizens being eligible to serve as president. The NFRA argues that the phrase natural-born citizen is defined as a person born on American soil of parents who are both citizens of the United States at the time of the child's birth. So there it is. What they're trying to essentially do is drum up terrible legislation that has been abolished for over 100 years and use that as the basis of their argument. So, I mean, we can go on to say the NFRA's interpretation of that clause would have made multiple U.S. presidents ineligible to hold office, including George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, among many others. That's because those presidents were born on the land classified as British colonies at the time. They would have never met the standards of the NFRA set to define natural-born citizenship. One of the other SCOTUS decisions that the NFRA is citing is the resolution was the 1939 Perkins versus Elg case, which states a child born here of alien parentage becomes a U.S. citizen, a citizen of the United States. This is my interpretation a little bit. The mere existence of the 13th Amendment, which was the abolish slavery, the 14th Amendment, which gave equal protection for formerly enslaved Americans, and the 19th Amendment, which gives universal women's suffrage, makes the case that the NFRA's cited their resolution is invalid. Dred Scott was overturned entirely by the 14th Amendment, and its text cannot be meaningfully cited for any reason whatsoever.
So, basically, what they're saying is because the Constitution doesn't, or they're believing that the Constitution doesn't say that blacks are citizens.
Right.
And if blacks are not citizens, then they can't be natural born citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And the only three, I think there's three things that qualify people. They have to be natural born citizens. They have to have lived in the U.S. for 14 years, and they have to be over 35 years old.
Right.
Those are the three things that you are to make you qualified to be president. But they're trying to define the natural born citizen and define it in a different way to use it for their benefit.
Under a law that was squashed by 3 amendments to the Constitution.
But here is what scares me, or what I think people need to recognize. A few years ago, let's say even 5 years ago, as all these people and all these assemblies and legislatures, state legislatures, were putting all these horrible anti-abortion laws on the books, people were like, but the federal government supersedes that, so we're okay. They can do what they want to do. It's not going to make a difference because Roe v. Wade would never be overturned, and that, we will be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, and it goes back to the states. Some states were okay, but there were other states, including Wisconsin, who we had a ban then.
Mm-hmm.
It was banned, even though the majority of the people did not agree with the ban. Women wanted the right to choose to what we could do with our own bodies, but because of that, now it went back to the states. There are so many laws that are on the books that the federal laws supersede. But if those federal laws get overturned, especially with the Supreme Court we have now, we're in trouble. Yeah. There are rules or laws like in Alabama and Louisiana that make slavery legal. For any reason, shape, or form that something changes and the Supreme Court rules that the amendments that freed everyone is unconstitutional, that goes back to the states then.
Right. Whatever laws are on the books at the time for that state, that now becomes law.
That becomes law. All those fair housing laws that are in effect, if they're overturned, it goes back to the states. And the covenants, some of these covenants that have where even in their own deeds, that they cannot sell to black people, or they only could sell to white people. They can't sell to any person of color. Those are still in some of these deeds. The only reason they can't do anything about it is because of the federal law.
Right. Right. Those federal laws, a lot of them have been put in place to protect us, to protect the everyday average citizen, and especially the disenfranchised. And when we lose those, and those are started to become challenged and stripped away, states are kind of have the free reign to do what they want. and whatever laws are on the books or whatever laws they want to pass, they can go ahead and do it. You know, I always point out in Wisconsin, we don't have the benefit of citizen initiatives, citizen ballot initiatives. So if you have a legislator that continually leans towards one way, it's kind of an open door to go in and create those laws that further disenfranchise those communities.
We cannot just say, you know, there can't be a ballot initiative and say that we want to put something, you know, for a referendum. You know, we can't do that. If I wanted to say that I wanted to make everybody in Wisconsin agreed that green should be, or yellow should be, the green and yellow should be the state colors. We all agreed on it, but our legislature said no. We had no recourse. We couldn't even say, you know what, let's get a ballot initiative together. Let's try to get that on the books to make this official, because we have no recourse with that. And this is what has happened because we don't pay attention to local elections.
I think we also realize how some of our freedoms and our rights are literally being held on by a string. We're one decision away or one challenge away from losing even more freedoms than what we have.
I remember when, who was that they, in some states, they were trying to overturn the equal opportunities of LGBT to marry. They did that in the state level. Then the next thing I remember is seeing something about interracial couples not being able to be married. Then it got to the point that it was interfaith couples not being able to get married there. Now, some of these I didn't know. Some of them passed, some of them didn't in certain states. But the issue was they started out with a group and they said, okay, we got away with this. Let me see. Let me go after this group. And then let me go after this group. Why is it so compelling to try to take rights away from citizens? We have a caller. We're going to see what this caller has to say. Caller, go ahead. Please turn your radio down.
Yes. How are y'all doing today?
I'm well, and yourself?
I can't complain. I'm looking at the dirt from the top side.
That's good.
It's scary to think they want to go backwards. It seems like everything that they worked hard to try to correct, you got these other idiots coming along trying to change it back.
It's for their benefit that they want to do this. It's not for everybody's benefit. This is the entitlement, and they're losing their entitlement space. So what they're doing is like, wait a minute, we gave you something, we're taking it back. We're going to try to take it back because we are losing out. Even though things should be getting more and more equitable, it's not. That's why, you know, there's no more there's no way to go to college and you get a little heads up because of you're a person of color, because you don't have those advantages that was at least a head up that you could possibly get somewhere where where mommy and daddy didn't have money and they are buying your way into school or your legacy, because some of us are first generations. So there's no legacy to have.
And it's still happening. Yeah, and that's still happening because some of us don't teach our kids how to read and write. They think that's automatically. No, you have to sit down and understand there's a process. In order for your kids to be successful in life, you must put forth an effort to teach them how to be a better citizen, how to be a better student in class, how to listen to the teacher. And if you feel that something is wrong, then you go, it's other steps, not acting a fool in class. Now, I understand what they're trying to do is they're trying to make this country worse than what it is, because they're getting old, because most of them are grandpa age.
Yeah.
That's fighting to make this happen. They don't want to give it up, and you're not finna be here long. Like they was talking about, old people don't need to vote because they're getting old. No, old people don't need to run enough country because the fact that you got old processes that you think that is necessary for you to stay on top.
And that is one of the things why we preach you have to look at all of these races, not just the federal, not just when president, not just when Congress. We have to go down to even the local level, the the mayors, the village trustees that you put in
Yeah, yeah,
office.
yeah. Because I can't see nobody saying Cavalier is doing a great job the way this city is feeling. He's smiling in people's faces, but people are dying around here. People are being misused. People are being taken advantage of. So what's the process? If you smiling and happy at conventions and your city is failing, you a failure. And
And
I gotta say this one more thing.
yes, sir.
If they could have changed Wisconsin into White Wisconsin, they probably would have.
Well, hopefully we will not let that happen. Not on
No, I hope
Wisconsin
not.
Voices Watch.
Well, they need people need to get out and vote. These young people that's out here that don't think voting is worth anything to them, they need to realize is they get to see what these people doing instead of watching uh, drill videos teaching you how to go out and kill each other. Um, Start looking at the future for the kids that you're bringing up, because you got kids that you're having, because you're out here having unprotected sex, having kids that you don't have a job to help take care of, but you're leaving a mess. What happened to people wanting their kids to do better than them? What is wrong with this country,
Thank
this
you, sir.
world?
I really
And
thank you.
please, and erase all higher education bills, because nobody should have to pay to go to school.
Amen.
That's true.
Education should be free.
Um, we have so many. Sometimes, me myself, I just get tired. I really I get tired. We work, especially like in the fields that we work in, where we're trying to uplift our community. Sometimes we just get the people who work in there get tired, because every time we think we've won one battle, there's some other battle. Um, why do I have to convince? And I guess my question is, why do I have to convince people of color to help save themselves? Let's take a break. We'll be right back with Wisconsin Voices. Be a voice, amplify your voice. We'll be right back. You know what? I have to give respect to Harvey. Hey, Carvey, how you over there? What's that word?
What's that
Is it-
word? Carvey,
The
what it
word
do? What it do?
is vote. That's what we're gonna use the word for today. Y'all got to
The
Word
vote.
is ornery. Brian's being ornery today.
Wait,
Brian
what's
is
it?
always being ornery.
What's that? Hold on. I know a lot of words, but honorary,
Ornery.
honorary. What's
Yeah, it just means you're just kind of
Naughty.
acting up.
Man, you know, look, that sun. I'm trying to enjoy some of this sun. Are we doing a Wisconsin Voices pool day or something like that? No.
No, we got work to do. We gotta save the
I'm
community.
gonna take a
attraction.
tablet to the pool, the
There
water
you
pool.
go.
You know what? Y'all funny. So when we went to our break,
That was getting heavy before the break.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like it was
It's real.
It's real talk.
Yeah.
Why do we have to keep trying to save?
You got to ignite this fire into people to understand the significance of all the things that are going on. It's like I think a lot of it is the a lot of people, if you're not used to researching, that's one thing, and then some people just feel like, you know, that the hopelessness you be hearing. Oh man, I ain't got. Yes, it does have something to do with you, especially when it come down to the state level. I mean, you know, federal. You know, we see what happens if you paying attention to anything Supreme Court related or anything with how they keep trying to delay Trump's, you know, every time I look up, they trying to delay something with Trump to make it more legit. But I just you got to kind of train yourself because it's a habit for me. I don't know everything. You know, I knew, you know, what Joe was mentioning because I had seen the article a couple of days ago myself. But, you know, you got to train yourself into wanting to understand the severity of, you know, how this could damage or impact not just your future, but, you know, a lot of y'all are grandparents, young grandparents now. Do you want your kids to be lost or your grandkids to be lost in the sauce like you because you don't want to pay attention to what's going on around you? I mean, that's really what it's coming down to. And that same mentality is going to go down into the generations that you have because it's all genetic. If you don't want to research now, you think your grandkids going to research?
Right.
Are your kids going to research? Look at your kids now. Are they researching and trying to understand what's going on around them? If you weren't laying that down, they're not going to care. Their kids not going to care. It's going to keep going on, and we'll just have lost generations of our people not being informed with what's going on in their world, in their community.
So this is the one of Brian. You bring up a good point. So I'm gonna look at it this way. My great grandfather lived through Jim Crow. I mean, he just did. Then my grandmother actually fought in the civil rights movement. You
Mhm.
know, not in a big way like some of these other people, but
Yeah.
just in the small way that she could. She went to march when she could. You know, she made food for the people when they came back from marching. I
Mhm.
mean, that was her way of helping. And we gradually got more and more rights. But why does it feel like if I don't do my work now and I don't try to turn this around, that my grandchild, which has not been born yet, but my grandchild will have the exact same rights as possibly my grandmother or my great grandfather did?
They have to be defended, though, Tamika. The rights that we have to constantly be defended.
But that's the point. We're not defending them.
Exactly.
And this is where Brian was just talking that we're not doing our due diligence. We have sat on our laurels and just said, okay, I get these rights. This is nothing to do with me until they're gone. And then you want to be mad about it when you can't go and vote. When they tell you you can't vote, that's when people will be mad. I still get a little upset because we talk about, I think it's the 19th Amendment when women have the right to vote. That wasn't all women.
Right.
All women did not get the right to vote on that day. White women did.
Yeah.
No other black women didn't. We got the right when the Civil Rights Act was signed. So, yes, celebrating that day in I think it was yesterday or day before 19th when it was ratified. But that wasn't for all of us.
But there were still black women out there fighting for those white women to have those rights too, which it's like how
They fought
amazing
hard.
how amazing is that to go out and fight for a right that you don't have, but you want for someone else to
Hey, you
have.
know, remind me of
You
it's
know?
And they
like
were fighting for their own rights. It's just that they
It
got,
was going to take more time.
it reminds
but
me of
no,
the
they
voting
just
climate.
got, how do I put it? They were sold out.
Mhm.
They were like, okay, will you give us the rights if we say that it's just the white women, it's not
Mhm.
Sojourner Truth, it's not all these other women who fought. Let's just put them to the side and we'll get what we can get. We'll work on them later.
Was it the same way with work with the working? You know, the black women were out advocating to like for the right to work and have independence, and then white women. Who was that talking last night? Right, I think a friend of mine was talking last night. You advocate for that, and then you go back and hide back into the suburbs after you get the rights, and then
Right.
Right,
And
right.
I'm not blaming
Nah,
I'm not blaming
I get it.
anybody for anything. It's just what the facts of the matter is.
Yeah, talk
Um
about it without blaming for sure.
And it's how hard the fight's been.
Yeah.
I mean, and how long it's taken to get those rights. And
Ah.
that's why it's so important that we continue to defend them, because if we lose them, the odds of us getting those back are slim to none.
And I think a lot of people, like you were saying, just kind of piggyback off you saying earlier with like rights and just going back. Some people, I think they believe that once they're in law, that I think some people gotta think that they can't be touched, like it's permanent. And that's scary that some people think it's permanent. Like, the things that we fighting for now, they want to pull them away. I don't people understand. Like you said, when we lose them, then here come everybody. We gonna be, oh yeah, no, forget that. I'm out here. I'll die for my vote. But until it's serious, until it's that point, people aren't gonna take it. You got people every day that got to argue with about the vote. And I hear it's on the canvassers. They call me on accent. I hear him in the background debating Ken. I can hear him talking and energetic doing his thing. Or you can hear somebody talking and like, man, man, let me talk to you for a second. But they always have to go back and forth with people about the seriousness.
We have to convince our own people to protect themselves.
Yeah.
To fight for their own interest, for your own interest.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. There should be, equity. And I always say this, equity is not equality. It's just having the same tools that everybody else is to get to where you need to go.
Right.
Without any hindrance because of your race, because of your sexual
Mhm.
orientation, because of your religion. Let's get this job. Equity is about going in, looking at this job, saying who is the most qualified candidate, and really looking at qualified candidates, and then not judging somebody for what they look like. Actually, when I look at resumes, I cover the names up. I try not to look at names. I try not to look at addresses. I try not to look at anything. I just want to look at where they work, what they did, how long they worked there. And I have done that for a while now because everybody has biases. And then what I do is I take those that I like their resume and I put them in a pile because they're resumes, and I call every last one of them. Whoever I think their resume is good, I do not look at the name, or I try to look at the names because sometimes I might be biased. Or if people live this is Wisconsin Voices, we live and this is a prime example of Joe being here because we are Wisconsin Voices. So you need to know, we were hiring a policy director back in November, December. We needed a policy director. So somebody has to know something about policy in Wisconsin. They have to know. But because I covered everybody's name and where they were from, and I just looked at resumes, I didn't know Joe was from Ohio. So we started the interviewing process to get, and everybody else had to pick, they had to fight for their place after that. And it wasn't just my decision. I think the first round was myself and round was myself and Brian.
Mhm.
And then
I remember.
we had our opinion on it. And I think we interviewed 5 or 6 people. And then I gave the 5 or 6 people to Latoya and Nicole. And they picked their top 3 candidates. And then I think the last person was the other co-executive director, who also, without anybody's influence and no one was talking to anybody about how they felt, all we were doing is saying, what is your top 3 and why? And the last of it all, Joe came out on top. Now, by that time, we knew he was from Ohio, and we were like, "Whoo, he from Ohio." No offense,
OH.
he is a white male. How are we going? How is he going to understand policy of BIPOC, marginalized people?
Mhm.
But he has done a great job.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it was a learning curve, but kind of once you get into it, and when you're a policy geek like I am, and you get into it and you start to really read it, there's some differences between Wisconsin and Ohio, but a lot of things are similar too. So,
but also you have caught some stuff from Ohio that you're like, wait, you know what? You better watch this because they did this in Ohio.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
You better,
yeah.
we better stop this or try to do this policy
A couple
work
weeks ago.
so it doesn't happen to Wisconsin.
Mhm.
All this stuff is real. It is completely 100% real. We have to pay attention. And there are older people who keep telling us to vote, and we're supposed to respect our elders. They know what it's like to not have. My mom is close to 80, I believe, 70. She's 79 this year, but she knows she lived through Jim Crow.
Mm.
She knows what it's like to have to walk miles away just to get a drink of water because it says whites only bubbler or water fountain, depending on where you are in the country. She knows what it's like. And we can't fathom that because we've always had those, her children, the generation that I am, Generation X, we've always had those rights. And maybe we take them for granted and we always think, oh, they will always be there.
And
Millennials might really, they came through and they were super, and I'm not saying, but they had all the technology, they had everything. So they may feel even more entitled that they have these rights. Gen Zs, these are the babies, and I have seen them like, and I'm not categorizing every single person in these generations, but they really feel entitled. Like they don't even have to respect their elders or anything else. Some do, don't get me wrong, but it's like they feel like but somebody had to fight for all these things that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the baby boomers that did that. A lot of that was baby boomers.
Silent generation, baby boomers. And the X was able to reap the rewards of what the silent generation and what the baby boomers did. The baby boomers were young; those are the ones that was born. The Clinton era, all the ones that's
Gen
born in the
Xers
40s,
were
50s.
quiet.
Yeah,
we
the Pepsi gen. That was the Pepsi gen.
But you know what happened with Gen Xers? We saw, and prove me if I'm wrong, but we saw our parents work hard at General Motors, A.O. Smith, all these companies, Patrick Cudahy, loyal to them to a fault, going to work every single day, never missing days of work, and then all of a sudden them shutting down, them trying to take wages, messing with their pensions, and then disappearing.
Changing our community just by bringing and infiltrating our community with the plan that they had, which we seen when we went to changing the narrative just this past weekend when we went to the event at the Milwaukee College of Medical College of Wisconsin
with the community.
Just walking through, and every time I see that, because I knew that's why I was kind of moving through a little quick when I did walk through, because I've seen it and I understand it, and you just seeing it where you just see the plan. You just looking at the plan. Okay, this is when they put this in, and how they all these strategies made to change our community. But I want to go back to what you were saying. Yeah, I totally agree with the Gen X. Y'all seen the real hard working classes of the silent, like your mom, the silent generation, and in the boomers that you seen, and y'all held it down. That work ethic that y'all have, y'all got that work ethic. Some slipped up,
but it was work ethics. But we were not. I mean, honestly, we were like, but we're not gonna get y'all pulling the okey doke on us. And that's why it was almost to a point that we were kind of selfish in a way. We did what we had to do. We would leave a job in a minute because somebody disrespected, because we saw what happened to our parents that sacrificed and swallowed a whole bunch of discord just to put us through school, give us a better life. A lot of our parents didn't have college education.
Bless you.
I had to sneeze. They didn't have college education, but they worked at A.O. Smith. They worked at Alan Chalmers. They worked in all these places. They bought a home. They paid their mortgage. They lived up to the expectations of what they were supposed to do. There was a lot of families that had mom and dads in there. That is a narrative that is not true. I mean, I don't remember honestly, Jermaine, we lived on the same block. There were very few single moms or single dad on our block. We lived right here on 21st Street. Everybody had a dad. And the only people, I think, and there was one or two people who had their parents had passed away.
Yeah.
And so their mom was a single mom because their parent passed away.
A lot of that started with the next group of the millennials that was born, like my group. My mom was a single mom. Most of the people I know, my best friend, both my best friends, technically they might have been with they just like how my mom was with my dad, single parents. My best friend Shakur. Dante's mom probably was with his mom for a minute, but most of my people I know in my group, the apartments that I grew up in Glen Courts, across from the old David Hobbs, single parents, single moms.
But that is because then we started not value, and some of this, it has to do with our government now. And somebody can argue with me differently, but remember when we had welfare, and they used to give you a check for how many kids you had
per kid.
Kid.
Yeah, that's what made Milwaukee pop or Wisconsin
but you couldn't have a dad in the household. And what happens is that dad was working hard dad. He lost his job, but to support his family, he trying to find a job, but to support his family, he had to leave. He had to leave to get those benefits to support kids.
And it still happens today for food, for SNAP or for medical benefits. I can speak, someone very close to me is in a situation like that, where the father goes out and works 12 hours a day and makes just over so much that they can't get benefits. But if they have one more child, that adds to the household, so now they can get benefits. Or if he left and it was just them two, they would get the benefits. So it's the system's never rigged. It never seems like it's rigged in our favor.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Back when I got pregnant with Jada, I was 31 years old, and I was kicking it. Didn't think I wanted to be married. I was with her dad at the time for 4 years. Thought I could never have. I thought I could never get pregnant, so I was, kicking it. All of a sudden,
kicking it.
I'm just saying, we're just gonna do that. We're gonna say that. But I got pregnant, and I was not smart, and because I didn't think I could get pregnant, I never noticed the signs of pregnancy, like tired, vomiting. I thought I was sick. I thought I had a bad case of the flu, and it lasted for a couple weeks until I went to Planned Parenthood, and I walked in there, and they said, you're pregnant, and I didn't even hear them. I had literally walked to my car and got ready to put the key in, and it was like, what did you just say? She said, come on back in, baby. Come on back in. She had to come back and get me out of the parking lot because I literally just knew it wasn't. But what happened was I lost my job when they found out I was going to be on maternity leave, but I didn't tell my immediate supervisor. I kind of told because I didn't know, but I didn't tell the owner. And then they said, well, you've been slacking, so you're gonna have to, we're gonna lay you off. But it was because I was pregnant. And then I was like, and I was one of those people, I don't need anything. I work 3 jobs, which I was working 3 jobs. All of a sudden I'm pregnant. I can't work 3 jobs. Right. And then so I had to go and get on medical assistant. I forgot what it was called back then, for medical, and then food stamps. I always put my husband Michael, because we were together, on my case and showed his income the same as mine. Originally, before they asked me for his thing, I was getting like a 200 and something dollars in food stamps. But I was like, wait a minute, I have a partner. It went down to $89.
Mhm.
Even though he was, at the time, he was making like $7.50 an hour, literally. We're gonna go through into the end of this, because I think this is a point we have to make, is that even then, back then, they punished because I had a significant other that was in my life. The only reason they didn't come after him for child support, because they usually do birthing fees and all that, is because we got married. And they're like, oh, you're getting married, never mind. And he was always on my case, so it was nothing that they could do.
I didn't even know about birthing fees until like 10 years ago. I was like, what?
Wait, Jermaine. All
I
right,
was like, hold
Jermaine
up.
came.
You got
Let me tell you,
I got Jermaine to grab the mic.
Jermaine
Ladies and
didn't grab
gentlemen,
the mic.
having a
Jermaine
baby
Rideout
is the most
has
expensive
something
thing
to
you will
say.
ever do in your life.
Unbelievable. But you know, it's so crazy that they just passed this law. I received a letter in the mail probably about a month ago that said that we are releasing the birth um, expenses. You don't have to pay that anymore. Now, my daughter should be 28 years old. Should be 28. My son would be 23. They're 5 days, 5 years apart.
Okay.
I get a letter a month ago saying that the birth expenses from both of the childs, you don't have to take care of it no more due to a new law that has been passed to help families in financial situations. So that means to tell me y'all knew what y'all was doing when y'all put these on young parents, people in general, because the system, and I say this all the time, since we're talking about it, I gotta say it. I say child support is for absent fathers and not broken relationships. So to put all the pressure on people because you break up in a relationship and then they slapping on you, then they put it that if the parent is getting support, they put that on the father as well. So that's putting you further and further behind. Um, on top of the birth expenses and everything else that you would have to pay for. But then 20 some years later to say, well, you don't have to pay for it no more after I already paid it.
Are they reimbursing you?
No.
Oh, I
And
thought
that's-
they was.
ah.
But there, and I want to be clear that I know a few mothers who have gotten
Letters?
hit
Oh yeah.
with child support that in the same way as fathers, not
Yeah.
into the extent, but I do want to
And
shout out to.
they hit you right out the gate.
Yeah.
Just to add to this, they hit you right out the gate, so you start off behind on child support.
Already, yeah.
So when you miss a
Yeah.
payment or two, they can
Right.
say you have all these arrearages, and they're
Thank
going to
you.
come lock you up.
Thank
You are
That's what I'm
starting
saying.
That's the
out with
interest,
a
huh?
real,
They
instead
throw
of
interest on
starting
it?
out and saying, you know what, we're putting you on child support
Right.
as of day one.
Right.
This is when it starts. No, when they put you on it, they were like, this is birthing fees, and
Back
then they
then,
had
Right.
they had some medical bills
Yep.
that you had, and
Yep.
then they were on food stamps. So we're gonna take a percentage of all this and start you out that way. So unless you have a check that you can write out
Yep.
that exact day to say, here, this catches me up on my rears, you're always on rears.
Yep, and that's the thing, because
Ooh.
just imagine, and they know, man, that people are having kids at a high rate in the black community. So if you start them off behind, they're gonna always be behind.
Yep.
Because jobs are hard to find anyway for young parents that's starting off at 17, 18, 19 years old. Or you might have a kid on the way. You're trying to find jobs that can help you take care of your family. And then you have to deal with already being in the hole.
And
Not
that-
everybody is a deadbeat dad.
That's
Not
right.
everybody
Thank
is
you.
a dead beat mom.
Thank you.
But the system, and this is, and I know we gotta go. We got about a minute, but this is why we have to vote. I'm bringing everything back to voting,
yes.
because who takes care of the child support system? What government?
It's
County.
the federal.
It's county.
Oh, it's county.
Yeah.
County.
Oh,
So
good. I don't
we
know.
need to make sure that those people are putting rules and making sure that the administrative laws that they put together or the executive orders that they put together, or whatever it is, matches what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's county that do the child support,
Yep.
not the state.
Yep.
Oh.
County.
And but Brian, remember, what is the county? An arm of the state.
Yeah.
Right.
So what happens to the
They
we
kind
had
of
that conversation.
it's
Yeah.
all
It all works
intertwined.
To the
together.
state happens to the county.
Well, this is Be a
Thank you,
Voice with Wisconsin Voices. I'm sorry we went on a tangent, but we need to stop trying to convince people to help themselves. Now I'm gonna come back on Friday and try to convince y'all again,
right.
because that's what we do.
That's what we got to do.
But we have to stop. We have to make sure that we are there empowering ourselves. Our vote matters.
Absolutely.
Our money, our dollars matter. The way we are, our swag, everything like that matters. We will be back on
Be a
Friday.
voice.
Be a voice with Wisconsin Voices. Please amplify your voice. Bye.